I couldn't pick her up. I had no business taking her with me. But the horns were getting to me and people were yelling, and I couldn't leave her there. It was not an environment for sound decision-making.
I don't give a shit about the chicken lady. Get out of the way, the man yelled.
Steeling myself, I went for it. I lunged toward my new feathered friend. She squawked and gave a weak flap and hobble, but didn't make it far. I freaked out at the last minute, afraid too strong a grip would crush her already fragile body, and she slipped away.
You all right?
A deep voice asked. At least one lone soul in the swarm of pedestrians had bothered to check on us. Just rescuing a chicken, I said cheerfully, if a little stressed. Eyes on the prize, I kept my gaze on her, not sparing him a glance. The shouty guy in the car behind me blared his horn again, as if I were not aware of his presence. Kill him with kindness, Trixie. I smiled and waved, then went back to sizing up my opponent for my next attempt.
Come on, lady,
the guy behind me yelled. People have no patience these days. So rude.
I'll deal with him. You focus on her, the deep-voiced guy said.
I glanced up to see him step between Shouty and me. I couldn't see his face, but he was standing in a cowboy before a shootout stance, minus the weaponry, thank goodness. Then again, he was intimidating all on his own. He towered over me, which doesn't say much given my fun-sized stature, but he could have towered over most and was built like a tree. Even in my frazzled state, the mouth-watering way his jeans framed his butt did not escape my notice. The glare I presumed he was giving Shouty must have worked, because the yelling trailed off and he ducked into his car, sulking. Taking advantage of the momentary reprieve from harassment, I ran after the chicken again. If she had been in better health, I probably would have wound up chasing her for an hour. In her current state, she was easy to keep up with. I scooped her up and petted her in a feeble attempt to soothe her. Got her! I stepped around my protector and got a look at his face. Oh, wow. I think he checked me out, but the roving eyes were quick enough that I couldn't say for certain. He nodded. I hesitated, considering introducing myself. He had the kind of rugged good looks that ought to be illegal. He was silent, but he had loud thoughts. I could practically see the gears turning in his mind. I wanted to know what he was thinking. Thanks for your help, I said. He opened his mouth to speak, and a strangled sound escaped. He coughed a bit and settled for a shrug. A bit of an awkward conversationalist. A hint of color tinged the top of his cheeks above the edges of his beard. I needed to give him an out. Maybe I'd suggest he was quiet rather than uncomfortable as an excuse. Don't talk much, do you? I asked.
I guess not. Sometimes it's better to watch.
I side-eyed him. Was he mocking the ridiculous show I'd put on with my chicken chase? Or was that an implication he liked what he saw? I didn't think I'd object either way, not when each additional feature I noticed pulled me in further. He had this thin strip without hair on his upper lip, where a scar must be. How inept had I become at dating that I couldn't tell if I was being flirted with? A fresh wave of horns from the line of cars behind Mr. Shouty broke the moment, and I knew I needed to leave before people went wild. I'd better go, I said. He nodded and stepped back onto the curb. I caught one side of his mouth quirking up in amusement at my struggle to wrestle the chicken into the car. She feebly flapped about, straining to escape. I'm trying to save you, I muttered through clenched teeth. Finally settled, I shouted, Have a nice day, with a wave and a grin, and took off. In the rearview mirror, I watched the man who'd helped me. He held up a hand in farewell, then scratched at his beard, fading from view as I got farther away. I frowned at his diminishing figure, unable to fight the flutter in my belly that said I was going to regret driving away from him. Once my unlikely pet could see the car wasn't any imminent threat, she settled down onto the passenger seat, looking exhausted. I watched her in my peripheral as I drove. Please don't poop in my car, she squawked. Does that mean you're going to poop in my car?